Hello everyone and welcome to today's class, which is kind of a pre-class class. This might seem a little silly, but I like to stretch before my yoga. And I know that sounds weird because yoga is helpful for stretching, but specifically when I do a full hatha yoga class, I never really feel like my downward facing dog gets anywhere, and I do like 100 of them in a vinyasa class, right? We do like, feels like 100, maybe not quite. But these few stretches that I'll walk you through today will be really helpful, and I think you'll be surprised how much different your practice feels after just spending a few minutes stretching before your class. So let's get started. There's only 4 I have for you today, and a couple of them are really quick even. So sitting however you want to. You can be kneeling or whatever, cross-legged, whatever works. And we'll interlace our fingers behind the back. So it'll look like this, behind your back, and then straighten through the arms. My back cracks like a lot when I do this, and it feels great. So I'll just sort of waddle this way so that you can see my arms behind me. For a lot of us, the elbows might still be bent, totally okay. For extra challenge, if you are quite flexible, try to keep the palms together and then straighten through the arms and even lift them up a little bit, but be cautious because sometimes if you focus on lifting up from the neck muscles or the traps, like the shoulders, you can get kind of cramps. So what we want to do is keep those shoulders down and then lengthen. Feel like you're lengthening the hands away from the body instead of just like lifting up, okay? So I hold this about 5 deep breaths and then release. That's my favorite stretch that I actually do multiple times throughout the day. The next one, right before my yoga class, is reverse plank. So in hatha yoga, it's purvottanasana. We send the hands back like a fair distance behind the hips and then straightening through the elbows. Make sure the fingers are pointed towards the feet and then lifting up the heart to the sky. Now the full variation of this pose is the hips are lifted, but for this specific purpose, I like to actually keep the hips on the floor because I find it stretches the target areas better. So with the hips on the floor, I can lift the heart a little bit more, and then I can feel the wrists stretching. And I actually feel one wrist stretching more than the other. So that shows me I have a bit of an imbalance. So for this one, I like to hold either 5 breaths at a minimum or up to a minute, and just nice and slow like this. To come out, moving super, super slow. We're done. The next one we'll hold a little bit longer. So I'll have a 3-minute timer here. And this one's a little bit awkward to get into. So what we'll do is I like to start from a kneeling position like this. And then I take my right foot and I place it on the floor. Now that right heel might come up off the floor. And what I'm trying to do is stretch the ankle and or the Achilles tendon area without overstretching. Okay, so I'm bringing my chest or my sternum directly above that right leg. My left leg is just sort of there for show. It's not doing anything. And then I place a little bit more weight, and then I flip my timer. And again, my heel might not be all the way to the ground, and that's okay. What we're looking for is an even gentler stretch than you would in a normal hatha class. So super, super gentle. And usually my heel starts up off the floor, but by the end of the stretch, my heel is on the floor. And sometimes it takes a little bit to figure out like, okay, that doesn't stretch. So just sort of shift a little bit until you can find, because this isn't a yoga pose. This is random Carla stretch, okay? So there's no like specific technique. Sometimes it helps to shift a little bit off to the side. But what we do want to be sure of is that the knee is tracking in the same direction as the toes. So for safety, that alignment is important. Everything else is just sort of made up. If it helps you at all, I do have my left hip on my left heel, and then my right hip, of course, is off the floor. And then so my heel's now down on the floor. So now I try to get a bit more of a stretch by leaning into it a little bit more. And again, super gentle. So when we do this stretch, we don't have to be warm because we're working so gently. And we're also working with the tendons. This stretch will actually lengthen your Achilles tendons on both sides. Of course, we'll do the next side after. And we just hold. And we smile because our downward facing dog is going to feel amazing after this. You just wait. It's actually kind of exciting. So try to find stillness once you find that stretch, even closing the eyes. And just like in a normal yin style class, if you need to go further, go a little further. So put a little more weight onto that leg. Last few moments here. Really important, when you come out, move slower than you think you need to. So slow, slow. So I like to still be in the stretch, but just come out a little bit. Still in the stretch, but come out a little bit more. Still in the stretch, and then release it completely. And it's kind of fun to go, like, just bring your feet forward. And my right foot that I just stretched is like naturally flexed a bit more than my left. Kind of fun. Maybe a couple of just really gentle ankle circles. Even if you're like, I don't really feel like I need to move slow, do it anyways. Just move nice and slow. And then we'll head into the other side. So now I'm bringing my left foot onto the floor and then shifting the weight until I feel that stretch. And we'll begin. So again, it might not feel the same as the first side. I actually have one side that's more flexible than the other. You might as well. Just take notice, but don't worry about it or judge it or anything. For me, my left side is like tight. So focusing even more on relaxing if you're on your tighter side now. By no means force it more. So we want to have like the same gentleness. And eventually, things will even out. And again, if you feel like you need to go a little deeper, add a little more weight. And all I'm doing for adding weight is just like allowing myself to sink into it more, allowing my upper body to be like a weight on my leg to gently press the heel down. We're in the home stretch now of this stretch, so see if you can melt a little bit more, softening, letting gravity assist the stretch. Make sure not to push anything, but let it move deeper. And we'll exit this stretch with the same sloth-like nature as the first side. So all we're doing is coming out of it just a little bit. So we're still on the stretch, coming out just a little bit, hold. Still on the stretch, coming out just a little bit, hold. Coming out just a little bit, and then come on out. Maybe just a couple little ankle circles. Maybe it takes a moment. I like to just wait a second and then slowly make those circles. So again, even if you don't feel like you have to move slowly, it's nice to anyways. Just gets you into a good habit. All right, the next one is our last one. So find a wall, and we'll do the right side, especially if the last side you just did was the left. So this is just a simple calf stretch against the wall. If you bend the leg, that'll be like your Achilles tendon stretch, which we just did. And right now I feel like mine is loosey-goosey. And then if you straighten the leg, now you feel the stretch. So my other leg is just there for show. It's just sort of there. It's not really doing anything. I've got all my weight on my right leg and into my arms. My back leg is as straight as it's letting me. So only straighten that leg if the body lets you until you feel a stretch. Breathing through this one. I usually hold this one about a minute, but honestly I kind of just play it by ear. Like if you really tune inward and focus on the space that you feel the stretch, you'll really find the right amount of stretch. And you'll feel when, okay, that's enough now. But trying to hold it approximately a minute. We'll hold just a little bit longer. I don't have a watch on for this one, but I feel like it's about 40, 45 seconds. For my last little bit, I like to take a couple deep breaths. So 1, and 2, and slowly, slowly start to come out. And it's funny because right around that 1 minute mark, it might be 50 seconds, it might be a minute 10. Your muscle starts to sort of feel like it's enough now for that stretch. And the other side, crack, snap. That's the other thing I like to do in my pre-stretches. If there's anything that needs to be adjusted. So other leg now, other side. And this side might be different than the first again. So just checking in. If one side is a little tighter than the other, a little more flexible, don't try to make them even. Make the stretch equal. Even and equal are very different things. An equal stretch would be, it feels the same, but even is the same amount exactly. Just a little bit longer. Couple deep breaths. 1, and 2, and slowly, slowly and out. And that's it. That's your pre-yoga stretch. I would love to hear if you like this. So let me know in the comment section, especially after you do a hatha yoga practice. Come back to this one and let me know, is this not just the most amazing thing ever? I thought it'd be nice to share some secrets, some tips, some tricks on making your yoga practice more efficient. So watch out for more of those. Until next time, namaste, and have a really good rest of your day, and hopefully a really good yoga practice coming up. Namaste.